Blech. Record scratch. I just can't do this podcast this way anymore. Guys, I tried the polished way of doing this podcast after 14 years of creating on YouTube. I thought it would be better if my voice was more polished. For years, I'd created content off the top of my head. I would just grab the camera and record when I had an idea I wanted to get out. I would do it without any practice runs. And all that time, I was always really self-conscious about how much I rambled and how verbose I was. Last year, as I started doing this research for this new way of losing weight, I started thinking that if I let AI help me shape and polish my thoughts before I put them out there, that would be more attractive and easier to follow. But yesterday I realized that I lost my raw voice in there, which I think is what has been so helpful. And I've been told it's been so helpful by my audience over the years. Last night I was going to bed and I had you just have one of those like icky feelings where something's not adding up. I felt something in my body that was like, the way I'm doing this doesn't feel quite right. So I'm going to change to this new way. I'm going to script everything with my raw thoughts, just like I did this one. I just typed it all out. And I'm not going to change much before I hit record. I'm just going to script it so that I can be a little bit more polished, less blank space and less thinking time, but hopefully not be as verbose as I used to be. The honest truth, which is something I've always put out there if you've been following me for any amount of time, is that I'm also way more self-conscious of myself nowadays than I used to be in my 20s and 30s for two reasons. So, number one is that my brain doesn't work the way it used to. I'm 43 now. I'm also on hormonal blocking medications, meaning estrogen lowering. These are on purpose to, prescribed to lower my chances of breast cancer recurrence. So it's like what they call chemical menopause. Well, close to that now. I was in it deeper a few years ago, and now I'm pulled away from one particular medication, but still having hormonal issues because of the medications. And because of this, I can't find words as easily as I could before. I can't seem to make the points that I want to make or get the ideas out as easily as I used to be able to. So I know it's a result of the medications that I'm taking for the post-cancer stuff because they give me that really fun menopause brain fog. That I thought, it's my truth. So probably there's women out there like me struggling with it too. I know there are. So I'm going to be a voice for you, albeit a somewhat scrambled voice. The number two reason is the elephant in the room. I've gained lots of weight, 50 pounds, an amount that I never thought I would. So it's hard to talk about this because I haven't figured that part out 100% for myself yet. So that feels hard to be 100% open about, but screw that. We're going to do this my way, my open, honest, truthful way. Hi, I'm Cheri. I'm a weight loss coach who gained 50 pounds after one daughter, then twin daughters, and then cancer. Come with me as I trade white-knuckle dieting for passive weight loss to restore my body using set point science. Learn the science of how our bodies regulate our weight in midlife and beyond, and learn actionable tools that'll help make real change for you right away. All right, from here on out, I'm not using AI to help me organize my thoughts anymore. I am just going to use it to help me like a research assistant to find studies and scientific support for what I'm learning about myself. I'll tell you a little bit more about this at the end. Now, the real turning point for me was when I was doing some master's work. I was doing my master's in psychology coursework last year, and I used AI to teach me that a concept I had been coaching for years. I sort of had a hunch that this was true. I had a hunch that it already had a psychological term. And so that was when the idea for this podcast was born, actually. I thought, if I could use AI to help me explain stuff that I've already been using with my private clients for years and give scientific backup for it, so many people that are just like me would want to know about that stuff. So the problem is that the more I used AI, the more I noticed its patterns in programming. So AI has programming that always makes it say, yeah, that's great, but here's how we could tweak it and make it land more, right? Or it'd be better if you said it like this. But then that causes me to second guess stuff that I already know from almost a decade of experience as a coach. So yeah, I'm not like listening to AI anymore on like how I say stuff. So in today's special episode, I'm going to get really personal to give you the lowdown on where I am exactly, what my plans are, the progress I've made so far, and my professional and scientific expertise on creating real lasting change in women's bodies who are over 40. And if you just heard my cat meow, apparently she has something to say about it too. Okay, so where am I exactly? I told a lot of this story on my Why I Quit Eat to Live episode, so I'll try to remember to put a link in the description in the show notes, so if you want to check that one out. If you haven't listened to that one, go ahead. I'm not going to duplicate everything here. I'm just going to go more into detail on my current situation. So in the past, I did a very honest set of vlogs over the year. I've done a few of them. So the first experience was when I was vlogging while I was doing Dr. Fuhrman's 10 and 20 meal plan back in 2016. Then I continued doing a 200-day vlog after that about my weight and food. That's all still on my YouTube channel, by the way. A lot of talk about binge eating and overeating and difficulties and things like that. Then, not many people know this, but I did a private weight loss vlog for my members inside the Eat to Live family for like 2.5 years back in 2020, 2021 through my cancer journey, which happened in 2021. So now I'm going to be brave and open it up again for everyone and their grandma in public. No holds barred. Okay, let's do this. I'll tell you all the things. And I plan to do this on an ongoing basis. So here we go. Today is March 18, 2026. I am 5 feet 2.5 inches tall, and that half is very important to me. So actually, I think it's 2 5/8, so closer to 5'3" probably. And right now I weigh somewhere around 175 pounds. I weigh on Saturdays. Today's Wednesday, so I'm not exactly sure this exact moment, but I'm going to be sharing exactly each week as it goes with the weigh-in. Last Saturday was 175.4. At my comfortable weight before my life got much bigger with all the kids and the cancer, I was around 123 to 125 for quite a long time, and that was a really nice area for me to be. So today, that means I'm up 50 pounds from that. I've taken some footage of my body and how it currently looks. I took this footage today, so you can see my thighs are thicker, my stomach is the most noticeable, because my weight gain is very hormonal from the meds that I'm on and the antidepressant I have to take to counteract the side effects of that hormonal blocker. Tangled webs we weave as we get older, am I right? My face is visibly more puffy, shows a lot of weight. Lucky me to be able to gain weight all over and in my tummy and have no boobs to balance anything out. But the one thing that is very cool that you wouldn't notice is that my body looks so different from how it did a year ago before I started weight training. What I created with all the weight training wasn't like a bigger body, more bulky, which is what everyone always worries about. No, actually it became much tighter. The muscles sort of, they pull in and create more shape than you had before. And so I'm actually really super proud of myself for making those changes and becoming this really amazing, strong woman, even with weight loss challenges. Now, let's embrace the truth of where we are right now. Because the chick that I see in the mirror, I could pick her apart physically, sure, and I often do that. But dang, she's like kind of heroic, actually, when I'm honest about this whole thing, because here are the things that I have actually accomplished in the last almost 6 years since my twins were born. We could just look at the weight loss and go, oh, well, I haven't lost the weight, or in fact, I've gained some weight. Or we could say, actually, let's look at all the stuff we did do, and that the weight loss is perhaps a lagging indicator. So of course, this list isn't exhaustive because we all accomplish so much related to so many different things that we don't give ourselves credit for. But right now, I'm going to give myself credit for the freaking insane stuff that I struggled with for decades and have fixed. So number one is my proudest achievement is that I stopped binge eating completely. If that was the only thing on this list, I would feel crazy proud. I literally thought that there was no solution for this for the longest time. And now I know there is, and I know how to teach other people to do it. I stopped overeating most of the time. So overeating is not an issue anymore. If you were watching my videos a few years ago when I just had the twins, I just was like allergic to having salad. I don't know. I couldn't get myself to eat salad. And now I'm actually enjoying salads again, and I choose them willingly almost every day. I have also deprogrammed the chronic stress of the micronutrient longevity perfection thing that I programmed into myself over the years. Now I feel calm about my food. I feel calm about my choices and my body. I'm actually now confident that I can maintain any weight that I get to. Any restaurant, social gathering, that kind of stuff, it's easy now for me. I don't have trepidation about what food's going to be there or the social, anything like that. In my weightlifting journey, so I eliminated osteopenia, which was beginning in my spine and hips. I have, gotten normal bone density again, even though the medications that I'm taking create issues with bone density. So not only have I counteracted what was already happening, but I fixed it as well. In 9 months last year, I was able to fix my bone density. Now I'm a regular gym goer. I go 3 to 4 times a week. It's easy. I love it. I do some cardio, I do swimming and the recumbent bike each week because I can't go for walks anymore due to plantar fasciitis. As I mentioned, my body is just a different shape, so my clothes fit so much better. I'm more shapely in general, even at this higher weight. And last I checked, which was a while ago, admittedly, I had lowered my blood sugar out of pre-diabetic range, which is something I struggle with for more than 10 years. I lowered my triglycerides from the dangerous 400s down to the 200s naturally, and now I have normal cholesterol again, the last I checked. Though I want to say as a disclaimer, I am due for new labs now to double check everything. Another very impressive, important thing for me is that I have lowered the food noise in my head, like the cravings and stuff, lowered to constantly manageable. This is such an interesting point because food noise, for those of us who were binge eaters or have been struggling with this for a long time, we've been talking about food noise for years, right? But in this world of GLP-1s, Ozempic, Wegovy, all these types of drugs, people are now starting to talk about, oh, wait a minute, I didn't realize how much food noise I had. And so I think that's an important part of stopping binge eating or stopping overeating is that we learn how to actually lower that food noise. And I've been able to do that permanently. I am no longer triggered by foods in the pantry, and that says a lot because we have a lot of those kinds of foods for the kids. I can now eat a sensible amount of any simple carb. If you recall back in the day, I was making videos about I couldn't have oatmeal in the house or any kind of pasta, bean pasta, whatever, because I knew we never had bread because I knew I would just eat the whole thing. And so now I couldn't even have Ezekiel bread, you guys. And now that's not even a thing anymore. My stress about food is gone. Some medical things. So I had my breast cancer tumor removed. I've been through 20 sessions of radiation. I've been on hormonal treatments, 2.5 years with Lupron and tamoxifen, and 4.5 years total with just tamoxifen, as well as an antidepressant. I'm now in cancer remission, and I've even weaned myself off of Effexor a bit to a manageable level, which is a kind of, that particular antidepressant is a real beast to wean off of. And so I'm proud of myself for having worked through that. I've gotten my hot flashes under control where I used to have, 20, 25 a day. And now I just have a few that are totally manageable. It's March right now and I had a hysterectomy in January. So that was kind of a big deal. I restarted my business also at the same time, started a podcast and opened my brand new coaching membership based on my personal and professional experience. So if I spend time beating myself up for the weight not changing, I've just erased all these truly brave and amazing things that I did over the last almost 6 years. So now, about what my plans are for my own weight loss. So I've spent years in searching for that white knuckle solution, what's the one thing I need to do in order to get this thing going again? Like when I used to do all the strict challenges. Yeah, I tried to do challenges too, right? It's just calories in, calories out. No, I tried all that stuff. And the problem is can you maintain it long enough so you can lose the weight long term. That's where the issue is. So it's always been about researching that. Trying stuff like that, I had to admit to myself, the solution I was looking for wasn't just around the corner, like I kept hoping. In 2025, I thought, if I'm not losing weight now, I might as well take better care of my body anyway. So I found out about my actual protein needs by testing it, like eating this much, eating that much, seeing what it was like. Like I kind of see myself as like this study of one, right? Former binge eater, always, didn't have too much of a problem losing weight, and now hormonal issues, post-cancer, blah, blah, blah. So I'm sort of putting myself through all this testing. What does it take to get to that weight again with all these new challenges? So in some of this testing with protein, for instance, I found that if I eat enough every day, like around 100 grams per day, 90 grams per day, whatever, in addition to a lot of fiber from fruits, beans, and vegetables, I feel so satiated that I'm not even interested in junk anymore. So that's been a huge discovery for me, and something that I was pushed away from for so long in the plant-based world. And that's all just been becoming super solidified, and like, if I test that on purpose, I keep getting consistent results. So that's become solidified in the last few weeks, formally, for creating a protocol of sorts for myself, for things that I enjoy eating that I feel like I can repeat over and over to continue getting results, right? So that's the technique I'm using to create satiety, the fiber, the protein, so that weight loss will happen on its own accord, passively, as I say, with using this protocol and creating safety and calm in my body. If you want to know any more about the safety and calm thing, listen to the first podcast episode. It really explains a lot about what I'm talking about here. So I'll try to link to that one in the show notes too. I also started weightlifting, as I said, which has increased my confidence, and it's improved my posture too. They were two things I never even expected to happen. I wasn't trying to create that, but they happened automatically with weightlifting. And now understand too that like I even gained 10 pounds when I started weightlifting, because I gained a lot of muscle plus the glycogen storage that's related to weight training. And sorry, I'm just moving down my script so I don't forget some things. So I gained that 10 pounds because of the weightlifting, but that's the kind of weight gain that I have been good with. Like my brain goes, but then it's like, oh, it's from weightlifting. That's cool. So then I had a hysterectomy in January, as I said, and because of like the sedentary stuff, you can't really do much for, it was 6 weeks total, and then I could just really start getting back in the gym in this last week or so. So the sedentariness of that gave me 5 extra pounds. But somewhere in my brain is this belief that it's going to come off in time again. I have experienced weight loss happening naturally when I purposefully insert the things into my life that create this calm, safety, and peace, like I was talking about. So the more protein. I also have become, I feel, super skilled at stress relief, internal stress relief. When something goes wrong, or, I'm having a tough day with the kids or whatever, I feel that what I've practiced and what I teach as a life and weight coach has completely changed my own personal journey in that way too. And it has changed the journey of my clients as well. As I said, I'm having more salad, which is like, I didn't know how I was going to get here. I actually hired a coach back in 2021 to help me start doing that again. And it just felt like pulling teeth the whole time. I mean, I did it, but it felt like pulling teeth. And now I'm actually having salads every day because I'm choosing them from a place of actually wanting them regularly. Like I'm so into the fresh vegetable thing, the regularity thing, more fiber, than from that place I used to be in of like, I'm going to die if I don't eat these. I got to eat these. I need longevity, right? No. So I choose them because I want them now, not because I feel forced to. Going to the gym weekly feels super good and super doable. I do that like gentle cardio, and it just fits my life now. And then when I get enough satiety in my day, I reach a state of what I call gentle nighttime hunger, which is this indicator that my body is processing some fat that night and I will have lost a tiny bit of weight. I check the trend over the week and I keep this sustainable and enjoyable rhythm using all these little pieces that I've studied on myself and found that work for me. So for my clients and for myself, we work to find this sustainable, enjoyable rhythm that fits us specifically, right? It's not the same for you. It's the one that works for me. And we work to find that. I call that actually the rhythm print. So that's like your fingerprint. You have a rhythm print. It's the work that we're doing together inside of Set Point Restore. And this is my passive weight loss technique. So I find women my age and older, that old dieting stuff that we used to do in our 20s and 30s, it just literally does not work anymore. There will be people in the comment section going, oh, well, if you just calories in, calories out, it'll work, but that's not the issue. Like, I understand mathematically what it takes to lose weight, but it's how do you do it in the face of all of these challenges that we have? And that's why the nervous system is so incredibly important in this journey. It just doesn't allow it anymore at a certain point. It doesn't allow that strict, rigorous stuff anymore after a certain point because it's onto you. So it manually overrides you. And this is what happens when we keep, gaining 3 pounds, losing 3 pounds, gaining 3 pounds, losing 3 pounds. So what's left? What do we do? What we can do now is what I've been talking about since the beginning. Create rhythm and predictability so the body becomes more comfortable letting go of that weight. And that is working with Set Point Science techniques. So why does it work? Well, we've seen in many of the first episodes of the podcast the science behind why this works. And today I'm going to focus on one little part, which is a chat that I had with AI like a year ago when I was comparing what I was learning in my master's program to what I'd been coaching private clients. This is a master's program in psychology. So I said something to the effect of, is there some kind of a term that describes that thing that happens when you say you can't have something, but then your brain wants it even more? And ChatGPT responded, yes, in psychology, it's called reactance. Suddenly I had a way of explaining these phenomena in a much clearer, succinct way. It turns out that the methods I'd been explaining for years in my private and group coaching had actual real scientific explanation already. Not the solution, but an explanation for the fact that it happens. So that's how this podcast idea was born, the Set Point Science, because I'm making it my mission to combine legit science with lived and professional experience to explain what you do, why you do it, and how to shift that in a way that feels permanently sustainable for you. So you stop the dieting craziness, and we actually find a way that we can lose weight and finally live with it, live with that way, and not to just suffer until we give up again. So now when it comes to reactance, there's a very real, very powerful thing we can do that's always very simple, and it's worked with dozens of my clients over the years. The antidote to reactance is to make the forbidden not forbidden anymore. So I have a technique that I have used in my coaching and with myself that permanently releases that forbiddenness, and that's called my reality planning method. This was the very technique that I used to permanently and completely end my binge eating that I'd been confusedly suffering for 20 or more years prior. In my life coaching certification school, I was taught that planning in advance, the meals, choosing meals in advance and stuff, it helps us to get used to using that prefrontal cortex more to start using rational decision making over reactive craving decisions. But over the years, that advice was good, but incomplete for me, as were all the other things that I tried, just incomplete. So I developed the reality planning method to answer that. So what you do is you make a plan for what you will eat based on the stuff you're currently eating. So for instance, you might take your last week's eating and plan that for this coming week, even if there's stuff that you were like, oh, I shouldn't have eaten that. No, we're planning that now. We're going to choose that specifically. So you do that for a while until it feels okay, because it's not going to feel okay at first, trust me. But this is where it comes in handy to be part of a program like Restore, my coaching membership, so that you can get real-time guidance on these techniques. At the same time, you start working on shifting your thoughts from, I can't eat this stuff, or I shouldn't be eating this stuff, I really shouldn't, to I'm eating it anyway when I get exhausted. So now I'm just going to plan it in advance, the amount that I'm already eating it, and I'm going to remove the shame from it. So what's beautiful, and as I said, this is how I cured my own binge eating permanently, you guys, is that you might think this technique would lead to just like this carte blanche, oh, let's eat everything. But actually, the opposite happens over time. When your brain isn't focusing on how you shouldn't be eating that food, it gets space to think of whether or not you actually want it. And then with practice, this starts to allow you to shift your version of healthier anyhow. It seems like an unorthodox way compared to what we're normally taught, but that's exactly why it creates permanent, sustainable change. Other things that we will talk about more in the future, including all the above, are things that I'm planning to do in the future, so you can see where my head is at. I started my psychology master's at University of Phoenix because it felt doable with my parenting life, but it was not doable. First of all, it didn't feel rigorous enough, and I really wanted a thesis track, but it didn't offer that. And also, it just was way too quickly paced, and I didn't have options to spread things out for my parenting life. So I put that on pause for a while to regroup and started to do some research again, and found out that the actual program that seems like the best fit for me, which sounds crazy to say, but it's at Harvard, the Harvard Extension Program, which is, it's technically a master's in psychology, but it's specifically a liberal arts master's with an emphasis on psychology. So I want to have that thesis track at a reputable school like this because I want to learn to do solid research on my own and publish my own studies. Now, pause, because saying this stuff really scares me to say publicly because there's a chance I won't get in or a chance I won't do it for parenting reasons. But just follow along with me as I do this. I want to document the academia side of all this and tell you what's going on. Of course, I'm at the very infancy stage of all this because I have to take and pass 3 courses before I'm even allowed to apply. And oh my God, I have to take statistics first. I've never taken it before, but it's fascinating. But I'm going to document all of it as we go. So, and also professionally, this is going to sound kind of big, but my goal is to change the face of weight loss forever. With techniques that are doable and scientifically backed up, and credible. From my experience personally and professionally, they already work, right? I've been doing these things with my private clients and my group clients for years, but I want to add every bit of legitimacy that I can so it feels accessible to everyone, no matter their struggles. Okay, that's a lot. And that's it for today. In subsequent weeks, I'm going to be reporting on what's happening with my weight, what I'm learning about myself, and how the science guides my decision making. Next week specifically, I'm going to talk all about my current food protocol, why it works, what doesn't work, why I came up with what I did. So take a second, let me know down in the comments about your thoughts about my new direction or just sort of new inclusions here. What do you want to hear more about? Also, if you find what I talk about on this podcast to be any bit helpful, please share this. Think of one person that you could share it with, someone that you know might benefit. I envision her, and I know that she's silently struggling, and I want her to know that she's not alone, and there's already a solution out there for her. My Set Point Restore coaching membership is currently closed, so I can focus on my founding members, but it's going to reopen later this year. For now, if you'd like to get my gentle weight loss guide that talks about practical things that you can do, as well as the science behind this method, you can pick that up at setpointscience.com/podcast guide. And until next time, let wherever you are on your journey be okay, lady. Because that lady is not just okay, she's freaking incredible.